It's been over 2.5 years since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out across Ontario in March 2020. And in ways both big and small, we've all been affected. We've felt confused, concerned, isolated, and/or exhausted at one point or another. And in the case of our two guests today, the experience triggered boundless creativity. This is Kingston Live, and the last time we sat down with Ricky Brant and Ted Evans, they were busy adapting the energy of live performance to a world without live music. Rather than benching their projects, they jumped headfirst into streaming. KaKaow continued a series of regular performances over Facebook Live and collaborated with several other organizations in town to keep the music playing. And Ted's Shook Planet set local records with daily live streams. Now with the lockdowns behind us, and live music restored to stages across the country, we're catching up with Ricky and Ted to discuss where they are now and how the pandemic has affected their musical journey. Hello, I'm Johnny Sand.
Riley Jabour.
Hey, I'm Ted.
Welcome, Ted.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back, aren't I?
Yes.
I like that you asked that. Like, am I?
Am I? Is this
where we are?
It's been so long.
Well, it has been a while, and yeah, we wanted to, I think it was almost 1.5 years ago that we last had you on the podcast. I don't know if it seems like it was 1.5 years ago. It's the temporal dysphoria of a pandemic where it's like, was it last year? Was it 2 years ago? Was it 5 years ago? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of both minds. It feels like it was both 5 years ago and last week.
Yeah.
So, like, either way, I'm happy to be back.
Well, I did check. It was about 1.5 years ago.
That's amazing. That's good. Yeah, that's cool.
A lot's happened, and we want to talk about what's happened and
Sure.
just catch up. And also, thank you for that awesome version of the theme music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. Just kind of pick it up and jam along.
Yeah, you haven't heard it, but you'll hear it in the finished product.
I'm imagining it in my mind, and it sounds great.
It's
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
You'll like it.
Thanks, Riley.
So where do we start? Actually, one thing I would like to start with, and something that I think needs to be documented, I think you set a record for live streams in Kingston. It was 66 in a row. Was that it?
Yeah, did 66 live streams for Shook Planet, my page. At the time, it was just a solo project, so I was streaming live on Facebook for SoCan's Encore program, and yeah, 66 days in a row.
That's amazing.
It really is, yeah.
Like, was that hard to do? I mean, it sounds like it would be hard to do, but I mean, like, just to like sort of sustain like interest and keep it interesting for yourself, let alone viewers, right?
Yeah, it became kind of more of like just a routine. I really had to get into the routine, like get up, prepare the set, like just kind of fit it into my daily routine. Because otherwise, yeah, I was starting at the start. That was exactly my concern was, am I going to lose interest after like 2 days, maybe like 10 days? It was a pretty big goal to try and hit. I knew 66 was a big thing. I'd never really done anything like that, like streaming or just music for 66 days in a row like that. So I knew it was going to be a big undertaking, but yeah, I just got into that routine and just got into this like flow kind of state and just wake up every day and it would just kind of start. It was like go into hair, go into makeup, get into the... No, it's like, you know, I got ready, got dressed, got my stuff on, and that was it. I was ready to go.
And you mentioned it being a solo project at the time, and it's now grown into more.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating watching kind of the growth as a solo project of Shook Planet through those like 66 live streams, because you know, as you got more settled into the routine of it in your day-to-day and getting your literal setup, like the room changed as it went on and you got more equipment and more acclimated to what you were doing in there. That was a really interesting experience from a viewer perspective.
I think that was my favorite part. Was I remember like the first couple of streams you did, and it was just sort of a typical setup, and then there's like lights and there's a theremin all of a sudden and all kinds of crazy crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I noticed that, yeah, a few people had said that and offered help too. I remember a few people saying, oh, I can't hear audio on the right side. And so I was getting lots of help from, people in the community who were tuning in. And so the first few days and first week was like basically trial and error. And yeah, setting up the lights, it was such a fun process to add stuff in, get people involved. And that was the funnest part because during the pandemic, it was like you were just alone. Like everyone felt, I don't know if everyone felt the same way, but I know I felt alone at home. And this was a really good way to just kind of connect with people in a way I hadn't done before, but the only way I really had available at the time.
Yeah, it's funny looking back because there was all this stuff that happened kind of out of necessity because we were all just, like you say, stuck at home.
Yeah.
And what do we do with our interests and our inclinations? So it was neat to see people sort of get creative with the tools that they had and with the skills that they had. But now we're out again, and live music is happening again. And what was that transition like, going from I'm in a room playing music for 66 days to, oh, I'm back in front of a live audience?
Yeah, there was a big period after the 66 days, like directly after, where we were still kind of in the pandemic, but the SoCan's Encore program itself had ended. That's why I chose the 66, was go till the last day of their program. And after that, I had this big sense of like, what do I do now? Because I can keep streaming, but I've done 66 days. I hit my goal. It felt really good. And doing more of it almost felt like I was pushing it at that point. Like I really didn't want to push myself or push if any fans were getting, if any friends were getting kind of like, I don't want to say annoyed, but sometimes you feel like that when you post on social media a lot, just like as a musician, like, hey guys, here's my show, here's my show, here's my next show, here's my next show. And like every day I was just going on and playing songs. I felt like I had really only posted the same thing over and over and over. So after the 66 days, even though it was great, it was cool, I kind of felt like lost and was like really hoping live music would come back. And then as soon as it did, I just wasn't ready. Like I was sitting there at home and got stuck in that funk and kind of that like in a rut of like, okay, we can go back, but like, how do I just jump back in, like physically start booking, like actually start reaching out to venues? How do I know all the venues have the same regulations? And, you just had to start getting back to it. And that was hard when I wasn't even ready to talk to like friends I'd known for years and years, let alone reach out to venues and bands I didn't know and try to put myself out there again after 2 years of just chilling at home.
Something that I thought was really interesting about COVID, it was very revealing of people's personalities. And it was really interesting from a musical perspective to see what people did and how they reacted to it, because there were people, we've talked to all kinds of folks over the last, how long have we been in this now? How long since the first, COVID podcast? And, there were people who sort of just took a step back and they're like, you know what, it's not the right time for music. I can't do this right now. It's just doesn't feel right. And then there are people like yourself. And I remember James Mulvale, we had a similar discussion where he said, yeah, this is the time where I can just like go hard and just create. And you seem to take more of that route.
Yeah. It's it was a time to stream and a time to create as well. And after the streaming, I kind of focused on recording a little bit. Got some new Shook Planet songs, and that kind of sparked that whole transition from the solo project to forming a band, and then getting back out once the world opened up again and booking some shows. And it finally, it happened. That was, there was no like switch to flip or, thing to say in my head, okay, like now's the time. It just happened. I posted an ad on Kijiji, found a guitar player, Zach, found a bassist, Jackson, and a drummer, Adam. And Jackson I actually already knew from work. I didn't find him on Kijiji. But yeah, we got together, formed the band, Shook Planet. I changed the whole direction from electronic solo stuff to like riff rock and more like punk-inspired surf rock kind of stuff. So we've taken that direction. The band's all together, and getting back out there on the road was kind of the thing we needed to push us. If we didn't have the world open back up again, I don't think I could have formed the band during the pandemic. It was kind of like everything happened out like almost like, I don't want to say it happened in a good way because it was a bad time for the world, but some things really for myself as a musician fell into place with the streaming, the time to go hard and record, like James Mulvale had said, you know, that was the time to just like dig into it because I'm sitting at home, I have all this equipment around me and prepare for the big worldwide open up again.
Yeah.
It's strange how I also don't want to say it was a good time for Shook Planet, but it almost felt like Shook Planet was the perfect kind of pandemic band because it was such a live streamable performance, and as a solo project it lended you the ability to flex those creative muscles. What was the transition like going from the isolated solo pandemic project, getting this band and going back out on the road? You said you kind of changed up the sound a little bit. Was that something that you had originally envisioned for Shook Planet when you created it as a solo project, or did the changes in the world alter the direction of it?
Yeah, honestly, it was not part of the original plan for Shook Planet. Shook Planet, like the original plan behind that was, I started it because with the Meringues, I write a certain style, and we have a certain style of like our sound. But as a songwriter, I write tons of different songs, and sometimes they come out, and I listen to the song after I either record a demo or just listen to myself kind of playing it back, and it's not a meringue song, and it's not. It's not any of the other bands I was playing in at the time. So I started Shook Planet just to kind of put out folk songs, acoustic songs, electronic songs, kind of whatever I wanted. And when the pandemic and the streaming hit, I leaned right into the electronic with all the, having all the gadgets and gear around me. And I could just stand there like kind of like a one-man electronic band and the loop station, all of that stuff. And then forming the band and everything opening up, I think was, a bit of like the world opening up again had that influence of, okay, I need to change things for this project. I don't want to, as I had said, I don't want to keep streaming. It felt like I was pushing it after the 66 days. I didn't want that to be like the focus of Shook Planet is like, oh, Shook Planet is Ted standing in his basement streaming and like playing with gadgets and stuff. Like that was a time, that was an era of Shook Planet for sure. But, now it's a band and I'm just the front man, just singing and rocking out. The songs feel a lot more natural to me. As a writer, the electronic stuff was totally fun and natural as well, in the sense like that's how I played those gadgets and all those instruments. That's what came out. Very natural. None of what I do in music feels forced ever, but this new direction feels so natural to me, sitting there with a bass or with a guitar and being like, okay, what am I going to write? And this new Shook Planet stuff is just kind of what comes out.
Not so much a question, but an observation in this sort of post-COVID world we're getting into. And just from a local perspective, something I've noticed, Tiny Horse is now a band, Stucco is now a band, and Shook Planet is now a band.
Yeah.
There are all these like sort of small groups that are now expanding into full performances.
Yeah, so I think that probably has had a bit of an impact, like the world opening up, being able to bring a full band on stage. It's like, well, let's form one then. Let's find the members and go.
Yeah. I don't have anything great to add there. I'm just like taking that all in. Yeah. It's almost like when you're trying to form a band, sometimes you have this vision in your mind and then you're not sure if it can come together when you get the extra members, but almost being forced to be like alone for some time while you build the foundation of what you're trying to build upon. People can pick up what you're putting down, sort of thing. They can say, okay, well, I've already heard some of this project and I'm into it. Let's fucking go, sort of thing, That's it, exactly.
I said that at the start of when we got the band together. I said, this is really cool talking to the guys in the band. I've never had the opportunity to bring people in and you guys just all learn my songs and now we're a band. And I never realized that was probably because of the pandemic, that I did have that time to sit there, record this stuff, and didn't have the need to get a guitar player in right away because it was just me at home. So I figured I'll record the guitar, I'll record the bass, do the drums, the vocals, everything, and then lay the foundation, just demo everything out. And that's what I was sending to these guys that I found on Kijiji. I sent Zach the demos, Adam the demos, and Jackson. I was showing him the demos at work, and you know, they all just learned them. They showed up one day, and I didn't know how it was going to go that first practice. It was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we went into the first song, and it was amazing. They had all learned everything, and it's quite the feeling to have had that time alone, you know, working on these songs, these demos, and then getting the band together finally and hearing them played back to me. It's pretty awesome.
And releasing music.
Yeah, the release as well. We released the EP. The EP is all just me on the recordings. We haven't got the band into it just yet, but they're ready to go for the next. We've got songs written. There's a few that I've written myself, and then we're gonna dial into a few more together that we're gonna write and record all together.
I want to go back to something you said a couple of minutes ago when you were talking about some of the equipment you used while you were doing the live streams and stuff. You talked about the theremin, the lights, and the loop station.
Yeah.
Is the loop station the MVP of the pandemic? I feel like every live stream, not just yourself, but every band I saw, leaning heavily on the loop station for a couple years when the world was shut down.
Yeah, you had to have some kind of, whether it be a drum machine or a loop station, some kind of, like electronic band. You know, it's like that, okay, guys, here's the guitar riff. You play that. I'm going to solo over it. This is, those pedals, those loop stations, definitely the MVP of the pandemic. For me, at least. I see it that way for sure.
Yeah, a big
Ricky's
agree.
here.
Hey! What's up, dude?
Gentlemen,
Hang on, that one's not on yet.
so sorry on timing, guys.
No, it's all good, man.
No, we will just continue. So, little background for the listener. Ricky's late. It's I don't know what else to say. Yeah. But he's here now.
That's awesome.
Let's get you a little bit closer to that mic. Yeah, just a bit. Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
So,
hey, Ricky.
Welcome. Yes, we started without you, but I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here and everybody's here too.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Rick.
We were just talking about the transition from live streaming and all the stuff that was going on as a musician during the pandemic to transitioning to going live on stage in front of people again for the first time in years. And I saw, we were talking about how Shook Planet has become a full band, but I've seen you perform completely solo on stage post-pandemic. What's that feel like going from performing essentially, you know, just into your own space to suddenly, hey, there's all these people at McKinnon Brothers again, sort of thing?
If you saw the Instagram posts at McKinnon Brothers and any of the photos of me, I mean, I'm in it to win it, baby. Like,
hell yeah.
Live performance is my thing. And, being able to just get out and feel the live energy of people, especially with the new music I've been producing this year, and being able to get out, like you say, at McKinnon Brothers. I performed literally 2 days before that, 6 hours away at a festival, a big rave festival called Sonic Springs, and
so cool.
The performance aspect is just going up and up and up and up. People want it, and I mean, I'm just here to bring it, and it's been really good, really just a lot of live performance, and it's been able to forward a lot of the career and the new kind of music I've been producing. So it's been really good. And like you say, with a new band, Ted, like you just get to approach these different avenues that you've kind of been stirring on for the past couple of years. And especially with the music you've created as Shook Planet, being all kind of solo stuff and then adapting that into a band.
For sure. Oh, man.
The evolution is great, and I see that within my playing, and kind of everybody's playing in town, you know, from Tiny Horse to, like, Melancholy Caravan, and everybody around. They've really took that time to really hone their craft, I think, and at least for me, it's been.
Oh yeah, it's great to see the scene come back so strong, and like you said,
Really
people out there,
yeah,
they want it too. Like, of course, people wanted live music after that pandemic, you know.
Oh
like,
yeah.
So to be able to get back out there and do it again has just been a real pleasure, I think, to get up there again.
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to get the two of you in here, because I feel like I admire both of you for your work ethic. During the pandemic, you both were just like, yeah, we're just going to go hard, just hunker down and get to work. So, and yeah, now it seems like we're on the other side of it. Things are moving, everybody's out. And I wanted to talk about that too, as a performer, or even just you and I, Riley, Jabour, as observers. Yeah, what everybody thinks of just what it's been like just getting out again. I know for me, one thing that I missed, and especially missed during the sort of streaming era, was missing just that tactile component to the music, you know, because even if like Ted and Ricky, you know, you guys had your setups, you guys like really fine-tuned everything, but there's still just that I miss the bass drum hitting me in the chest. Yeah. Right? There's just something about it that you can't replicate. And it was just so nice. My first post-COVID show was Skeleton Park, and which was
that was
it was one. Just great. You played. That was nice. Yeah, although I didn't get to see you because I was doing another podcast. But no, it was just so nice to see people out and to hear live music, and again to have that force of the music hitting you.
And the community involvement in that sense too, wanting to come out and really support that scene that's coming up and flourishing again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very important.
There's something almost like Woodstockian about the feeling of it. When you like see the way people talk about like the first Woodstock and how it was all peace, love, and understanding, and everybody was just there for the same reason. As years have gone on, people going to shows, sometimes it feels like you're not all there for the same. Some people are there to show off how cool they are for listening to this band or want to get street credit or whatever. And then with this like 2-year sort of reset on music, people coming out to live shows, everybody's there and supportive and for the same reason. Everybody's so happy to be there. It feels like that's something that the pandemic has almost reset for us in some ways.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. One of the things I did like about the pandemic was everyone just seemed to drop all this pretense. And even in the professional world, meetings went to Zoom. And it's like, you know what? People can't cover up the fact that there's a dog in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
Or that they may not be wearing pants.
Or the kids are coming in and bugging them.
Yeah,
that's right.
But it was just this thing of, you know what, we're all just doing the best we can out here, and that's okay.
Because we all know we're human at the end of the day, and we got to respect that.
Yeah.
Right?
And it makes it more relatable when you see that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I don't really relate to the newscaster sitting there with the makeup on and the perfect desk and the perfect suit. But the newscaster, with the dog and the kid running in, I'm like, I am that guy. Like, I get that.
Totally.
I relate to the guy with the fancy hair and the theremin.
There we go.
I remember watching, I think, visiting my mom or something at some point in the pandemic. She had CTV News on. And just on CTV News, somebody that I know that worked there came on, and I was like, she's broadcasting from her patio. I've been there. I can see her husband's foot in the background.
That's amazing. Yeah. Now that's super relatable for sure.
An interesting thing COVID did, especially within most cities and local communities, was put everybody at bay on an even playing field. You know, no matter how much you're producing, how much you're releasing, you can't play live. So everybody's got to produce a certain point to actually access like what they can tap into within their audience. Yep. So like within context of like you and I, Ted, we went right into streaming and figuring out like, okay, how can we navigate this kind of new era of what's going on? And then now as it's kind of relieving, we're adapting that back to our normal selves and understanding that sense of how much people are wanting that live music experience again, and we're here to give it to them, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think I felt like I always, looking back now, I would say I took it for granted before. Like, if you asked me, are the Meringues going to stop playing in 2020? I'd say no. Why would we stop playing? And then we stopped for 2 years, and so did everyone else. So yeah, kind of. I see what you mean. It kind of leveled some kind of like everyone stopped. It's not just me. I'm not like, oh, we got the pulled the short straw. Like everyone's stuck right now, and yeah, so it was cool to adapt and try something, do what we had to do. You were great at that too, Ricky, with the streaming and stuff. It was always cool to see.
I think you, Ted, hit it out of the park, and out of anybody in Canada, and relative to like the streaming sense of like SoCan said, hey, we're gonna pay you to stream, and Ted said, okay, pay me like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm gonna like do it to the best that you can even like put on paper and pay me for it. You set such an example in the community to be like, okay, you know what? If you want to get out and get it, work for it. Because that's all you can do, right?
That's it, yeah. I mean, it was either lay back and watch Netflix or go down and turn on the... thanks, Ricky. I really appreciate that, dude.
Of course, dude. Mad respect.
Yeah.
I think I need to draw attention to, so we had a conversation recently, and this will come up in a future podcast actually, but we were speaking to a journalist from Buffalo who is interested in Kingston's music scene.
Cool.
And something that I think I took for granted, maybe we all take for granted, is that things like SoCan and all these programs are in place to support artists. Apparently they don't have that over there.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's we do have a lot of good things here for sure in Canada, Ontario, and even Kingston. There's some good local funds that artists can apply for. There was one throughout the pandemic that was for artists who
the resiliency.
Yeah, exactly.
We were both recipients of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that stuff helps. Like that is genuinely helpful to artists who had to stop. And just to see that genuine support being, put forth by whoever, like committees or whoever puts that forth and makes it happen, we know that there's people out in the community thinking about us as musicians who are, out playing till like 2 a.m. and getting home and hung over the next day, and someone's working for us and like trying to find us like rights and money and stuff. And
that's the exact
cool.
point, is finding us our rights for our money that we create, is because they don't have such an ability to access something like SoCan for us. For SoCan for us, we have distribution rights throughout the U.S. and we can choose on literal drop-down menu whether we want to have BMI or ASCAP represent us in the United States. And it's funny that you say that, John, because it seems such an accessible outlet to us as Canadians, as writers, as artists, to be able to verify and publish our work saying we own our rights to our music. But what you're saying, like, America doesn't seem to have that a kind of forward ability to say, hey, you should own your music. But even like I said, within SoCan, we have that drop-down menu right within America, whether we wanted to even be represented under BMI or ASCAP within our representative performance and distribution rights for that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that the system is in place for America to kind of do that. And I mean, rightfully so. You see so many Canadian producers, artists really making it on the scene and coming over to America that way, because there is such an ability for us to establish our rights as artists. You have artists like The Weeknd writing for everybody, Drake, Justin Bieber, Kate Renata, so many people producing, and yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, and Ted, I like that you pointed out that those supports come from the both national, provincial, and the local level. And that's one of the things I was really grateful to see happen over COVID was, they opened up the Grand, they opened up the Isabel, and they gave artists space to hone their craft. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's another thing. Ricky and I both got to take part in was the Imagine
projects at the Isabel there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. You know, I can say, I performed at the Isabel. It was to zero. There was zero people in the stands, but I performed at the Isabel. There was a camera crew. It was, it was really cool. There's video on YouTube that I have on Shook Planet YouTube. And I think if you're looking into the whole Shook Planet transition thing, YouTube is kind of where you can find the most like old Shook Planet content. And then I've kind of scraped everything else, just went full new content everywhere else.
Well, that may be a good transition. I'd like to drop a track now, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Sweet.
Ted, you've got a track for us?
Yeah. This one is Full Stop from the new Best Buddy EP.
Thank you for listening to Kingston Live. Be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For more great Kingston music, check out the Kingston Live playlist on Spotify. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. You can also hear our sister show, Kingston Live On Air, on Amherst Island Radio and CFRC. I want to go back to something that you said, Ricky, about how SOCAN is so great at representing Canadian artists, both kind of here and when Canadian artists break out into the States. And I think that's such a great example of how well things like live streaming and SOCAN and all of the support at every level of government, federal, provincial, and municipal, has really helped artists in that we've got these programs and these dedicated ideas of how we can best support Canadian artistry as a representative, a representation of our culture. And it's so important for us as Canadians to have that and to help us break out. And I think you said that really eloquently, talking about how SOCAN is there for us at every level, so to speak.
Absolutely. And there's so many other performance rights organizations and funding organizations. You have like Factor, Canada Council for the Arts. All these organizations are so willing to put in hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to, if you want to book a tour, there's thousands of dollars for that. You just have to apply. Say you're legitimate and tell them what you're doing. Like, there's money out there for artists to really do what they want to do. And if you want to make a professional career out of it, I mean, delving into the information about where you can find these resources. Again, Canada Council for the Arts, Factor, SOCAN. Lately, the Unison Fund put out a big grant for any performing arts professional musicians and producers that actually do their work and are professionals in the industry. They offered a $2,500 relief fund for any of these people and professionals working in the arts. So there's just so much opportunity, availability for funding to do any project. Like, if you have your heart into it and the backing, I mean, apply for money. Go out and get it.
Hell yeah.
These people have, like, these companies and organizations have millions of dollars that they want to give to Canadian artists.
Yeah, and lots of people working there to help. Like,
yeah, absolutely. To create their content and have you get it out. So get it out there. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, and the proof is here. I mean, you guys are here. You were able to continue to make music, which I'm very grateful for. We've talked about Ted's music. Ricky, Earth to Station is out. Just came out recently.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I remember many months ago, I was listening to something that you'd sent me, and then I thought to myself, I could do something with this. I think, Ricky, I want to remix one of your songs.
Yeah,
and then you sent me Earth to Station, and I was like, no, he's fine now. He's got this.
I spent a little bit of time doing some learning, and
no, it shows. Yeah. No, I'm very grateful, and that's something I wanted to talk about as well. Is, you know, in another universe where there wasn't COVID, you know, where do you guys think you would be as artists?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. You know, I would have been able to answer that really easily like 2 years ago. I would have said
before COVID.
Before COVID.
wow, that's so true.
But I guess what I'm getting at is,
but now
when you look back, were you better or worse off long term, or is it hard to say? I don't know.
It's so hard to say because I wouldn't have done the 66 days. You guys wouldn't be congratulating me right now for doing the 66 days. You know, like there's so many things that just happened, again, kind of fell into place during the pandemic for me as a musician, personally, that I think were good things for me, but who knows what else I could have been doing during those 2 years. Maybe we would have played some really big shows or opened for some big bands with the Meringues, and that could have went, or, you know, I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a great question. I love thinking about that. The conversation is great. My final answer is I don't know.
What about you, Riley Jabour? What do you think?
I don't know.
How was COVID for you? Do you feel you're better or worse off, or?
I feel like it's a trade-off. I feel like as a non-artist, just some guy who takes in a lot of art, it gave me a lot of time to absorb more art. And I feel like maybe that made me a better person. I like to think it did. I feel like COVID made me funnier, but also I think maybe I just got crazier. Like I just spent so much time isolated inside my own brain where I'm like, oh, I'm the fucking funniest person alive. And I'm just laughing at my own jokes. I just sat in the dark room cackling to myself for 2 years until someone opened the door. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're, I want to say that you're funnier, but it could be that I just didn't laugh very much for 2 years. That was a real thing for me. I found that my sense of humor had dulled for a while because I was just sitting around by myself, and I'm not really a funny person. I'm good at surrounding myself with funny people.
That'd be the Yelp review for COVID. Didn't laugh very much for 2 years. 0 stars. Do not recommend.
Yeah, definitely do not recommend. Yeah. Are you the type that would, if you're sitting alone in a room and you're watching a funny show and something like genuinely funny happens, do you laugh out loud even if you're by yourself, or do you kind of...
No, actually, I was reading about this. People, I think it was something like, people are like 30 times more likely to laugh if there are other people around.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
Yeah, it's very rare that I would laugh by myself. Like even something that I really like Monty Python or something. I'll still laugh a little bit, but it's so much funnier with other people.
For sure. Yeah, I think, and maybe that had an effect over the pandemic of being inside a little more and having that, that no people around to keep the gut laughter going.
Yeah, it's nice to laugh again.
Yeah, I love it.
This is a weird example of like people being around versus not around for laughing. But do you guys remember the movie I Am Legend starring Will Smith?
Yeah.
There's that one scene where like, so he's isolated.
Yeah.
He's like the last human being.
Yeah.
There's one scene in that movie where like you first realize there's like, the monsters or whatever because they've been moving around the mannequins that he's been talking to.
Right.
And there's that scene where he sees the one mannequin in a spot where it's not supposed to be. And he's having this like mental break where he's like, what are you doing, Frank? You're not supposed to be here. Yeah. And he's screaming at the mannequin. And it's supposed to be this dramatic scene of you're like, oh, he's really suffering. But I saw it in a movie theater and like, it's kind of a funny scene. It's it plays a little weird. And I'm trying not to laugh. And then there's another guy at the other side of the theater also trying not to laugh. Yeah. And so I just heard him just let a little like, go, and I lost it. And then he starts laughing even harder at me. No one else in this packed theater cackling. We're just dying.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's too good. And it didn't set anyone else off?
No. I remember one of my friends I was there with just punched me. He's like, what the heck? It's not funny, man. And I was like, no, that guy's funny. He gets it.
He gets it, yeah. Oh man.
The pandemic was a lot like seeing I Am Legend.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's time to drop another track. So Ricky, what are we going to hear? What's going on?
We're going to play Let's Get It. This is the final track off of my latest release, my album Earth the Station, and it's the last song for a reason. So let's get it.
That's a great cue up. I love it.
That's so good.
I love how grindy that track is.
It's pretty. Let's take a ride on the bass line. Yeah. I'm trying to get some real dirty stuff going on, and Electric Circus just booked me to play a show out on Base 31 out in Picton.
Nice.
And it's like 2,000 plus person venue. I just realized Sloan, Sarah Harmer, Bedouin Sound Clash, and David Wilcox have just played there in the past couple months. And now I get to headline Halloween.
Hell yeah. That's going to be awesome.
That's huge.
At a big venue like that. So,
was that a venue that existed before the pandemic, or did I just become aware of it recently?
You just became aware of it right now.
All right. I wasn't sure if it was like born of the pandemic or not.
It was.
I became aware of it right now. So.
It was a defunct World War II Air Force base that a big collective of has bought, and it's like a metalworking wood shop, artist space, kind of couple concert venue kind of space, and it's a really cool kind of thing. It's like what Cloud9 is trying to do out there, but like more inclusive.
Nice.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be dope,
awesome.
Especially on Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Big old rave out there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to, you mentioned that rave festival that you were at just before McKinnon Brothers. I can't remember the name of the
Sonic Springs.
Sonic Springs, yes. And I remember talking to you at McKinnon Brothers because you had just come from playing that, and you were up until, I can't remember what time,
We left that night at 2 a.m., got into town. I got 2 hours sleep, and then we went over to McKinnon Brothers.
And I think that really speaks to the energy you bring to your performance, because you might have been one of the most high-energy performers at McKinnon Brothers all day, and that was off of 2 hours sleep.
2 hours sleep from pretty much the entire weekend. Yeah.
Well, that's impressive. And I remember saying to Riley Jabour,
go hard or go home.
I remember saying, because I think we were watching Miss Emily at the time, and she was just killing it. But I said,
so good.
Yeah, that was a great show. But I remember saying to Riley, I don't think anybody's had more fun on the stage today than Ricky and Kira.
Yeah. Kira was killing it.
She was having a great time.
Yeah. I was so honored to play after Tiny Horse. Like, good friends of mine, all of them. And yeah, after that is just like, oh, let's fucking bring it. Yeah, so like I said before, if you see those pics on Instagram from the festival, bringing it.
Hell yeah.
Well, let's talk about performance. So we've touched on it a little bit, but being isolated, streaming, and then coming back to a stage, do you guys feel like you're better performers now, or are you still kind of... I don't think Ricky's still building it up. I think Ricky's basically there, as evidenced by the last couple of times I've seen him. But yeah, what's that feel like?
I noticed a bit of a difference just in my like personal confidence level, and you know,
Better
I play
or worse?
different. Well, it's kind of like it's like a sliding scale thing, because there's different instruments I play in different bands. Like getting up with the Meringues, for example, I play guitar and sing in the Meringues. We played one show kind of throughout the, like near the end of the pandemic, or what people thought was going to be the end. There was like kind of this time where you could play like half capacity shows. We went to Oshawa and played a show, and I was kind of expecting it to feel just like, you know, like there was no change, but I was definitely more in my head than I had been in, you know, the string of shows we had been doing in 2020 and 2019, all of that. I kind of lost all the nerves, lost all the in my head stuff. But that all came back for me during the pandemic, just playing in front of a computer screen and streaming by myself. And then as soon as the show ends, I just hit end stream, and then I'm just alone in my house. Being out there again didn't come back as easily as I thought it would. I kind of had all my nerves and butterflies kind of built back up over the 2 years. But now that I've got over that hump, the first few shows, it's feeling back to normal again. The very first transition was weird, for sure. I will say it wasn't like just flipping right back into it. But now that things have been slowly climbing back towards it, I've got my onstage confidence back and feeling great about it again.
How do you feel with playing Shook Planet as a band now, Ted? And that
that's the whole
live too.
That's the whole different thing. Is like that I didn't really have the experience before the pandemic of being just a front man for Shook Planet, like, or any band where I'm not playing guitar, not playing anything. I'm just singing.
We threw on that show at Music when you were first doing that. Yeah,
and I tried. It was a very like trial run of that with just backing tracks. It wasn't even the band. I was just playing with backing tracks, just singing.
I know what you mean with that kind of stuff, man.
It was weird. Like it was. And I knew it was going to be weird for the audience and for everyone, but I was like, I have to try this. I have to practice it in some way before, because I've never done it before. And so, yeah, it worked out. I tried it, Musiki, and it was very supportive. There was James Mulvale and Ricky and a supportive crowd of cool friends and stuff. So it was great. It was great to try it out, and that was a perfect setting for that. And then, getting back to the band, it was like, that was all new. It was completely new for me. It wasn't like relatable to anything, really. It was like, oh wow, our first show was in Hamilton with the band, and we went and played it, and it just happened. It was great. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is not a question. This is just a random thing. I wish this was a video podcast so we could have like a DAP count. I've been keeping a mental tally of every time you guys have dapped each other up, and it's been just very supportive.
Yeah.
So many times, all the things like we mentioned, Imagine Project. We both fist bump. We both did that.
Imagine Project. Both Imagine Project.
Every was some
the
grants each grant. Yeah, the Unison Fund. We're like,
I should bring a bell next time.
I was picturing it in my head with that sound effect.
I'll grab the cowbell from the I'm going to get it right now. Hang on.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yes.
This is something I thought of doing for years, is just bringing some sort of cheesy sound effect into the podcast, but there was never a reason before. All right, fist bump.
Yes. That's so good.
Outstanding.
So what's next for you guys?
So
long term, I guess.
Like I said, I just released my new album, Earth to Station, and as we'll hear sometime in the future, the station is a jump off point to the stars, something that's beyond all of us. I mean, if you've watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, look what he goes through. We all need to go through some kind of transitional point. So I feel that with me, Earth to Station was a good jump off point. So next I'm going to work on Station to Stars, because the stars and beyond is what it seems like humanity is trying to reach for right now. And the perception of the universe and the energy I perceive, I want to bring in new light to be able to help people perceive the best of themselves and harness an energy only the universe can match. We need to save ourselves as a humanity, as a species, as a planet. And I think through music and bringing people together and higher understanding of form, fit, function, we can all take each other there. And let's dance while we're doing it. Funk, yeah.
Man.
Ted, can you top that?
No, definitely not. I have some shows coming up. That's it. No. How do I follow that? I mean, I agree with it too, in the sense that, like, if I can do anything to help the state of the world or the state of any one person's state of mind, it's going to be through music. So
Yeah.
That's one reason I'll always do music, is how it makes me feel, and how I hope others can connect to it and hear it might change someone else's life. But yeah, as far as Shook Planet, I would say my plans, we have one show on our schedule right now, October 8th at Overtime. Other than that, we're going to dial into some recording.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we've got the band together now, so we're going to do some writing, recording, work towards a full album, but we also just want to work on our content, social media. You'll be seeing lots more Shook Planet on social media, you know, with the whole band, not just me anymore. I want to show the band more, show the guys, get them involved more. They want to get involved more, so we're going to dial into that, to just be in a band more. And same with the Meringues too, same kind of thing. That's my other band. We're going to do kind of just keep being a band and keep pushing, writing, recording. It seems like a luxury to be able to say that's, you know, my plan is like do what most people dream they can do, is like just write and record music. And sometimes it feels too good to be true that we can do this kind of thing, you know.
100%, man.
And so I'm always really thankful to anyone who's ever supported my music, or just any musician, or gotten their kid into music, or gotten anyone into music, because it's a big thing. I think power to change the world, and to the stars and beyond, as Ricky said.
Absolutely, dude.
Right?
Oh, another one of those commonalities we got. Yo, this year I'm working as a part of the KCFF Music Video Initiative.
Oh, nice.
I got
That's
a
good.
space on that.
It's good. I was wondering.
Another one of those.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, I was wondering who's been involved.
Yeah, I'm going to be working with Jamstone Productions.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
make it in the first KaKaow music video.
Hell yeah.
So,
No, Celine does great work. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do.
she said, like, Ricky, we're going to spend the budget on lights.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to perform and dance lights.
Yep.
So,
Smart.
That seems appropriate.
That's very much the vibe. That's cool.
take him to space, baby.
Guys, this is great. Best of luck to both of you. It was good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's always a great time to get together.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, in real person, you know, all together again, and getting Rick back, coming in late.
Even though I'm a little bit late. All right.
Let's get one more fist bump.
Yep.
This has been Kingston Live. We encourage you to rate us on your listening platform of choice and subscribe where possible. For show listings, artist info, and all things Kingston music, check out kingstonlive.ca. Kingston Live was produced in Kingston by Titan Sound, hosted by Riley Jabour and John Sanfilippo. Writing and research by Peter Sanfilippo. Executive producer Rob Howard. Kingston Live is a member of the Canadian Live Music Association. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@kingstonlive.ca. Huzzah! Okay.